guys, happy Labor Day weekend! And to celebrate, we're hosting the classic American barbecue. Growing up on the East Coast, Labor Day for me was always bittersweet because we knew it was the last hurrah before winter was coming, and because we then had to go back to school. So we would make ourselves feel better by always hosting one big last cookout, kind of the classic American barbecue. And even though I live on the West Coast now and I'm spoiled with beautiful weather all year round, I still kind of crave these foods every time Labor Day comes. So I'm going to share that menu with you. We're going to kick things off with homemade guacamole and chips, a great casual appetizer that everybody loves. Then it's succulent barbecue chicken with homemade barbecue sauce. Once you taste homemade barbecue sauce, I promise you'll never go back to that stuff in a bottle. And what's barbecue chicken without buttery, mile-high biscuits? I'm going to show you the perfect recipe to get the flakiest biscuits ever. Then we're serving 3 classic American side dishes: a corn salad with cherry tomatoes and fresh basil, a horseradish potato salad with fresh herbs, and homemade coleslaw that's both sweet and tangy with a little bit of a kick. And for dessert, it's a berry toffee crumble with vanilla ice cream. The first thing we're going to do is make our appetizer, a classic homemade guacamole. Guacamole is one of those things that's so much better when you make it homemade. I find when you buy it in the store, they sort of puree it up and it just looks like one big green glob, as opposed to chunky vegetables with tomatoes and avocado and fresh cilantro. So I think it's so much better to make it yourself. And here's how you do it. Couldn't be easier. You want to start with avocados that are dark. So you don't want to get an avocado that's green and hard. Those aren't going to work. You want to make sure that they're dark, but also just a little bit soft to the touch. If they're too mushy, you're going to end up with the avocado puree. Cut your avocados and throw them in a bowl. To that, you're going to add tomatoes and red onions. Give those a stir until kind of well incorporated. Add lime juice, salt and pepper, and hot sauce. Now the hot sauce is one of those things that you could go anywhere from 2 drops to 6 drops, depending on how spicy you like it. I do like it with a little bit of a kick, so I tend to go probably 4 to 5 drops, but really it's up to you. Then you're going to add fresh cilantro. And again, cilantro is one of those things people either love it or hate it. I happen to really love it. I think it's great with the lime and the avocado. So I would do probably about 1/4 cup of freshly chopped cilantro. Homemade guacamole is heavier than store-bought guacamole, so you really want a chip that's going to hold up to it. So look for some of those artisan chips that sometimes are larger or just a little bit thicker than the thinner chips that you may see. And if you can't find those, or if you just want a chip that's a little bit healthier and you know that has been baked, you can bake them yourself. All you do is take corn tortillas, cut them in quarters, and then sprinkle them out on a greased cookie sheet. Sprinkle with salt and bake at 350 for about 15 minutes. You'll know when they're done when they start to turn golden brown and the ends start to curl up a bit. So to assemble this appetizer, I think it's great to put it all in one serving piece. That way you don't have to walk around the party passing a basket of chips and then a bowl of guacamole. The best thing to do is find a large platter, get a smaller bowl to put the guacamole in, and then put the chips all around. That way it looks pretty, it's easy to serve, and also just makes a really festive statement. That's it, homemade guacamole in minutes. I promise once you give this recipe a try, you probably will never go back to the store-bought variety. What classic American barbecue would be complete without some barbecue chicken? And if you've never made homemade barbecue sauce, that is what's going to kick this chicken up to the next galaxy. Most barbecue sauces always have the basis of ketchup. Just store-bought variety will work. To that, you're going to add some vinegar for tang, some sweetness in the form of brown sugar and molasses. Then you want to add a little bit of a kick. So you're going to add some hot sauce and some mustard. Then for some salty, smoky flavor, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Then some fresh garlic, and you're going to stir that all until well combined and let it go for about 5 to 7 minutes until the whole thing is reduced and thickened to about 1.5 cups. When it comes to barbecue chicken, I think the best thing to do is just to go buy a whole chicken that's already been cut up. Or if you know how to break down a chicken yourself, all the better, and you can do that too. I usually will take the breasts and cut them in half, just because it's a lot of chicken for one person. And the best way to do that is just take a big kitchen knife, cut it down the center, and if you need to, you can even take kitchen shears just to help you cut it. One of the mistakes that I see people make, and I've done it in the past as well, is to take raw chicken, lather on a bunch of barbecue sauce, and then throw it on a hot grill. What's going to happen if you do that is you're going to burn your chicken because there's so much sugar in barbecue sauce that it just kind of torques right up, and then your chicken is raw inside because it doesn't have the time to cook. The better thing to do is to take your chicken and lightly brush it with some canola oil or vegetable oil. Season with salt and pepper, and then grill on both sides. Once the chicken is completely done, so put a meat thermometer in it and see and make sure it registers to about 170, 175. Then you can take the barbecue sauce and lightly glaze it on both sides. And then give it a grill for probably 2 minutes on each side just to kind of sear it and develop all those flavors. That way, you'll end up with beautifully grilled chicken that's done on the inside and has a light caramelized flavor on the outside. Once your chicken is done, you're going to take it off the grill and place it on a platter. Then you want to take the rest of the barbecue sauce and put it in a little dish. That way guests can serve themselves to more sauce if they want. And believe me, once they taste the sauce, they're going to want some extra on the side. And that's how you make homemade barbecue chicken. When I think of the classic American barbecue and barbecue chicken, I think of buttery, mile-high biscuits. But growing up on the East Coast, I never had anybody in my family that knew how to make a biscuit. We were a bunch of Yankees. What did we know about baking biscuits? So I spent the last 2 weeks trying to perfect the perfect recipe. Biscuits that were flaky and buttery, that also were easy to do. And I think I finally got it. In a bowl, you're gonna combine flour, salt, baking powder, and sugar. Give that a good whisk until combined. Add half a cup of heavy cream and a half a cup of 2% milk. I know it's kind of a strange combo. I know there are people out there who swear by buttermilk, but I tried buttermilk and they just ended up with kind of tough biscuits. It wasn't light and flaky. But for some reason, this is the right combo. Heavy cream and 2% milk. You're gonna give that a whisk until you start to get kind of a sticky dough. Then you wanna have about a half a cup of flour that you can use to flour the board and flour your hands. Get out your rolling pin, give that a good flour, and then flour your hands. Get into the bowl and start working the dough. You'll see it is a little bit sticky, but once you start to work in some flour, it will actually tame down and start to roll it into a ball and roll it out on your board. Keep rolling it until you have a nice, probably 9 by 12 rectangle. Now, here is the secret ingredient, the butter. Biscuits are only good if they're really buttery. What you want to do is you want to take some softened butter. If you forgot to leave your butter out overnight, you could just put it in the microwave. But only put it in the microwave if you use the defrost setting and do it for about 20 seconds. You're going to take all that butter and you're going to smear it all over the dough. I know, it's a bit of a messy undertaking, but I'm telling you, this is really the secret tip. Once that butter is completely smeared all over that dough, you're going to fold the dough in thirds. You're going to take one half, fold it to the center. You're going to take the other half and fold it over the center. Then you're going to add a little bit more flour and roll that out. Take the top of the dough and fold that to the half, and then take the bottom of the dough and fold that in half, and again, roll it out. You're going to complete this process for probably 6 turns. And what you're doing is you're incorporating that fat into all that flour so that when it cooks, that is what's going to create those sort of flaky layers. Once you've done about 6 turns of that dough in the butter, you're going to want to roll it out just so that the dough is about a ½ inch thick. You don't want to roll that dough out too thin because then your biscuits aren't going to get mile high on you. They're just going to get ½ mile high. Take a cutter, probably about 2 to 3 inches, and cut out the dough. You're going to put that on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Now, every time we use parchment, I do get some comments and people ask if they can use wax paper. You cannot use wax paper. Wax paper is covered with wax, and if you did that, the wax is gonna melt and it probably is gonna catch on fire. So definitely look for parchment paper. Don't go for any wax paper. Once you have your biscuits all laid out on the parchment-lined cookie sheet, you then wanna just brush the tops with a little bit of melted butter. At this point, you can take the whole tray and wrap it up tightly in plastic wrap and pop it in your fridge. That way, it's all good to go so that when you're ready to bake them, all you have to do is pop them in the oven. 10 minutes before you're ready to serve dinner, make sure that your oven is preheated to 450 degrees. You're gonna pop your biscuits in and set the timer for about 12 minutes. At that point, you wanna be able to check them. They should be golden brown and nicely rise. That's when you know they're done. When it comes to biscuits, I like to serve them in a footed pedestal with a decorative dish towel. Just because they're so delicious, they're always everybody's favorite part of this menu that I like to give them kind of a seat of honor. So that's it. That's how you make an awesome, mile-high, buttery, flaky biscuit. These are the 3 dishes that I'm going to show you how to make that's going to go with your barbecue chicken and your buttery biscuits. Corn salad, potato salad, and coleslaw. So the first step is to make the corn salad. Corn is still in season right now. You can still get it fresh on the cob, and that's how you want it for this salad. Start by blanching the corn. So that's just setting it into some hot water just for 2 to 3 minutes to kind of cook the starchiness and the rawness out of the corn. Once that's done, put the corn in a colander and run under cold water. That will just help cool it down and stop the cooking. Then you're going to cut it off the cob. Now I find it's a lot easier to cut corn on the cob by laying it on its side as opposed to trying to lay it up upright and kind of wrestle with a knife. So definitely lay it on its side and cut the corn off the cob and then put it into a bowl. Then you're going to add some cherry tomatoes. I really like to cut the cherry tomatoes in half. That way it's just easier for people to eat and they're not chomping down on big cherry tomatoes. Add some freshly chopped basil, salt and pepper, the juice of 1 lime, and olive oil. And you toss that all together, and that's all you need to do. What's so nice about this salad, because there's not a lot going on, is just that freshness of the corn and the freshness of the tomatoes with that fresh basil. It's a great combination of flavors that feels extremely summery, and it's just kind of a great way to say goodbye to summer. I love the combination of potatoes and horseradish. If you've never used horseradish before, it's a great ingredient that will give your potato salad a nice kick. So what you're going to do is you're going to boil some red baby potatoes, just until they're fork tender. Once they're done, put them in a colander and just run some cold water over them. That will help them stop cooking and cool them down. To make the dressing, you're going to add some light mayonnaise and some light sour cream. This is a menu that is not light on calories. Remember, we've got those buttery biscuits, so you want to save your calorie intake for them. Then you're going to add some chopped shallots, salt and pepper, the horseradish, and some fresh chives and dill. Toss that all together until well combined. Take your potatoes and quarter them. Put them in a mixing bowl, and then add your dressing. Now, in my opinion, there's nothing worse than potato salad that has too much dressing on it. You know, when it's too mayonnaise-y or there's too much sour cream. So what I like to do is just spoon the dressing over the potatoes and give it a toss. Then I would just take the potato salad and transfer it to a decorative bowl for serving. Put a little sprinkling of some fresh herbs, and you're good to go. Coleslaw is one of those things that you either love or hate. And I find that the people who hate it usually have had really bad coleslaw. Like from the deli, it comes with your sandwich, it's drenched in mayonnaise, not so good. That's not what this is. This is homemade coleslaw, which is so much better. Take a green cabbage and a red cabbage. You're gonna slice that really, really thin. Usually it'll only take a half a cabbage. So sometimes grocery stores will even sell half cabbages already cut and wrapped in plastic. That's a good way to go if you know you're only gonna be serving 6 people. Then you're gonna take some red onion, slice that thin, and some carrots. If you can find them already grated, that's great, or you can just grate them with a potato peeler. Then to make the dressing, you're gonna take mayonnaise, vinegar, brown sugar, Dijon mustard, a little bit of celery seed, and salt and pepper. And whisk that all together. Now at this point, if you're not ready to serve the salad right away, you could wrap the dressing and the vegetables separately and pop them in the fridge. Coleslaw, you really don't want to dress until you're ready to serve it, about a half hour or so before. When you're ready to serve the coleslaw, take the dressing and toss it with the vegetables until well incorporated. And that's it, homemade coleslaw. So there you have it, 3 classic American side dishes for your end of summer barbecue. Now, it wouldn't be a classic American barbecue without some baked fruit dessert with vanilla ice cream. And I am partial to my blueberry and blackberry crisp with a toffee crumbled top. Really awesome. You're gonna start with equal amount of blueberries and blackberries. Toss those together. And to that, you're gonna add the juice of 1 lemon, some sugar, and cornstarch. So if you don't have cornstarch, you could also use flour, because what this is gonna do is kind of soak up all of that extra moisture that these berries are gonna emit once they bake. So now for the crumb topping. Over the last few summers, I've experimented with crumb toppings, trying to get that perfect mixture of sweet and crunchy and chewy all at the same time. And here it is. I think I finally got it. You're gonna do flour, brown sugar, regular white sugar, a little bit of baking powder, pinch of salt, a little bit of cinnamon, and you're gonna whisk that all together. Then you're gonna add some quick cooking oats, melted butter, heavy cream, and vanilla. Stir that all together until well combined. Then you're gonna add some chopped pecans, and then the secret ingredient, these little English toffee bits. I love to put them in a crumb topping because when the thing bakes, it turns into sort of this chewy, caramelized, crunchy toffee topping that is really delicious. Then you're gonna take your berry mixture and pour it out into a baking dish, and then place the crumble on top, just kind of evenly around the top. You do wanna make sure that all the berries are covered. I'm not necessarily a fan of crumb toppings that have berries kind of peeking through, because that's gonna happen anyway as it bakes. The juices are going to rise up. So it's better off to make sure that everybody gets a good spoonful of crumble and cover the whole thing. Once you have all of the crumble on the topping, then you're gonna dot with about 2 tablespoons of butter. Just little dices here and there until it's evenly distributed. Take your dessert and put it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. You just want the crumb topping to be slightly golden brown and also have all of those berry juices rising to the surface and kind of bubbling on top. That's how you know it's done. You want to serve this warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. And this is one of my favorite desserts to serve around this time of year because you've got the sweetness of the berries, the crunch of the crumble topping, and that creaminess of the vanilla ice cream. It's a great flavor combination that's a really good way to celebrate the end of summer. If you want to make this menu, here's the game plan. The day before the party, you want to make your barbecue sauce and store it in the fridge. Then boil your potatoes for the potato salad. Once they're cooled, pop them in a Ziploc bag. You can also make the sauce for the potato salad as well. Just don't add the fresh herbs until ready to serve. Cut the vegetables for the coleslaw and mix the dressing. Store them separately and refrigerate until ready to go. The day of the party, make the berry crumble, but don't bake it yet. Just keep it covered and refrigerate. Make your biscuits, cut them out on a sheet pan, and wrap the whole sheet pan tightly in plastic wrap, and keep them refrigerated until you're ready to bake. Blanch your corn and cut it off the cob. Keep it stored at room temperature, and slice your tomatoes and do the same. 15 minutes before guests arrive, make the guacamole and set it out with some chips. A half hour before you're ready to have dinner, grill your chicken. While that's grilling, toss together the potato salad, corn salad, and coleslaw. Keep them at room temperature. Then go back and flip your chicken. At that point, pop your biscuits in the oven and don't forget to set the timer. You spend a lot of time on these biscuits, you don't want to end up having them burnt with all this multitasking. Then go back and check your chicken. At this point, it's probably ready to be glazed with the barbecue sauce. Plate the chicken on a platter. Remove the biscuits from the oven, and then reduce the temperature to 400. Uncover your crumble and pop it in the oven for 25 minutes. Once the crumble is done, you can remove it from the oven and just set it out at room temperature. It will still stay warm until you're ready to serve. So that's it. That's how you throw the classic American barbecue. So if you live in a colder climate and you're feeling sad about summer's end, give this menu a try and then leave me a comment and let me know how it goes.